Right.
I appreciate you guys coming on here. All right, let's roll. Higher Calling Podcast, episode number 22. Today I got Joe Dowling and John Neal, both from Deanville, Texas. Everybody should know where Deanville, Texas is, but if you don't, it's close down to a College Station down there. They're two chefs and TikTok creators. Joe owns KD Bar Cattle Company. He's in the Air Force, dog runner, hurricane chaser, and ex-bouncer. And John is a cowboy, rancher, and a trucker. How's it going today, guys?
We're going good.
Good.
Good, man. I appreciate y'all coming on here, man, and just kind of telling me a little about y'allself, man, and telling me y'all's story.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to see you guys, man. We met through our mutual buddy, Sky Olivier. Sky's good. He's always trying to hook me up and kind of push me forward and kind of put me in front of people. So, he kind of suggested you guys. So I'm glad that y'all had the opportunity to come on here and kind of tell me a little bit about y'all.
KP.
Oh yeah, good people. I'm actually supposed to head out there tomorrow to Opelousas. They're having a crackling festival. So I think I'm gonna go out there and help them scratch some gratons. Tell us a little bit about you guys' background, what y'all are doing, and kind of how you guys got here.
Well, the way the TikTok deal, I did all that other stuff. I've always had my catahoulas, did day work here and there. Also drove a truck here and there hauling cows and haul truck, hauling heavy equipment. So that was kind of in between jobs, and so I've always pretty much had cattle for the last. And then I got tired of all the stuff in the oil field, and that one day you making lots of money, and the next day you flat broke looking for a job. So I decided to start selling my own beef. And people had told me for years to do my cowboy cooking on YouTube, and I never would do it. And then when TikTok came along, my boy kept saying I need to do it. So finally I broke down and done it. And I didn't know how to edit any videos or do anything. I had like 3 followers. And I just put like 6 videos in a row on there. One of them hit 2.8 million. In just a couple of days, I jumped up to like 30,000, 40,000 followers. But to do it to promote beef, and also John and I was looking to get our own small processing plant so we can control everything from the pasture to the plate as far as the beef. So that's kind of what started my journey in TikTok, and then it's grown to what it is now. And John and I have been friends for a while. John likes to cook, so I got John to join me on the cooking in that. And we started calling that the Joe and John Show, going live in that. Picked up some catering deals, and then our big event in Masonville. So that's how everything kind of evolved to how we ended up being TikTok creators. It wasn't planned that way, but we was trying to promote beef, and then it evolved into people kept telling me I need to get my own seasoning, but most of these people have their own seasoning, and I like coffee. So that's what started my own coffee line. Plus, people drink a whole lot more coffee than use seasoning. But that's how all that evolved to become TikTok creators, and the reason we did it and why we try to promote it. And we've met some really good people. Like we talked about Sky and KP, and you got Cooking with Cajun, Rusty that you interviewed the other day, and a whole lot of other people that just kind of turned into a big family of us. I mean, Cable that's doing behind the scenes, he kind of become our IT tech man, joined in our little group, and he's growing his deal. So that's how the three of us all got involved in this deal.
Sounds like a good deal out there, man. I could see that y'all growing cattle out there. About how many head of cattle y'all got up?
Right now, I'm kind of low. I had over 100 head at one time, but the last 2 droughts hit me pretty hard. I'm down to about 20 head, but slowly growing back up. I'm going to keep a bunch of heifers this year. And I also manage another ranch, and they're using my bulls, so I'm going to keep some of them heifers and start, like I said, building back up. How many cows you got now?
Oh, just like 10 because pasture's so hard to come by over here. We're losing so much to development of houses and like just new communities getting just put up everywhere around here. And
Yeah,
the
they grow.
price of land around here just it's I mean it's growing everywhere. And
Mhm.
it's even growing out there in no man's land. But
How much is an acre of land going
Give you an
for out there?
example of land in 2019. I bought some land. It was 6,400 an acre. Now it's running about 12, 13,000 acres. So it's kind of hard
Ooh.
to grow, and you can't put enough cows on there to you
yeah,
maybe
thank
pay
you.
1 month land note.
Yeah, that's it. So you said something about whenever you first started out, you was putting 6 videos on there at a time, and just had a couple of followers, 6 followers, and you hit one video, it hit 2.8 million, I think you said, huh? What
Yes, sir.
what exactly was in y'all's video or the video that actually spurred that type of following or that type of a look? What were you doing?
It's the
What?
most ignorantest thing in the world. All it is, it was basically like the 30-second clip. And what I cooked was, I call it cowboy pie. Basically, in the Dutch oven, I cook a stew. Once the stew's done, I pour cornbread all on top,
Uh-huh.
put the lid on the Dutch oven, cover it cold, bake the cornbread on top.
Okay.
So kind of like a beef pot pie or a pie with cornbread crust on top, and then just dip it out.
Okay.
And all the video is walking over there, taking the lid off the pot, pulling my knife off my side, sticking it in the cornbread, and pulling it out, showing that my knife was clean, that the cornbread was well done, and saying it's done, and putting the knife back in the sheet and put the lid on it. That's the whole video.
Come on, huh? Just cowboy styling it. Ain't nobody ever seen that before.
Apparently not.
You know, you can go look on my TikTok deal. It's like the third video up there, 2.8. That's literally all that it was.
That's good. You got that one
We
pinned right here.
we went to church together for 8, 9 years, I guess now. We've been to church together. I used to show up late and he'd already have breakfast cooked. And anyways, he called me one day and he said, "Hey, I seem like I'm running on the same recipe." I said, "Well, what are you not selling?" And he's like, "Well, I got a bunch of tenderized cutlets." I was like, "Oh, I can do something with that." So we went over
Yeah.
there and made that Swiss steak that night. That was the first time I was on a live, and then I didn't even know how to do TikTok. So, but I still don't. That's what they tell me. But, anyways, we've been doing it ever since. We get
That's
along.
right.
We're easy to get along with.
Yeah.
The
Y'all,
deal
y'all,
is, John and I can cook and not hardly say 5, 10 words to each other.
uh-huh.
You want to put that in there? All right, sounds good. What about
Yeah.
this? All right, throw that in there.
All right, then.
It always comes out good.
That's right. Just like the food, huh? It's crazy how,
Yeah.
Yeah.
how TikTok works, but it's just consistency and I think just hitting the right video, saying the right thing at the right time. That's just like
Right.
Cajun or whatever, whenever he said, and we gotta have some MF and cornbread. And like that made
But
him
this is
famous.
what's crazy. When me and Cajun used to have about the same number of followers when we both started out. And then he did one of them with the MF and cornbread, and that blew up. And then he had another video that really blew up, and he just shot way up past me. But at one time, me and him both right there within like 500,000 followers each other, kind of leapfrogging back and forth.
Sure.
Him and Miss Angel, boy, they're good people.
Yes, they are.
They are real people.
Oh yeah, it's always good to go out there, and I mean, I hung around at a couple of the crawfish festivals that we had, the cook-offs, and helped Sky with his thing and KP with his thing, and man, it's just fine human beings out there, man. Just everybody
Yeah.
working together and trying to help each other, and just everybody trying to get better.
I didn't realize how big and serious it was till we went to Macomb, Mississippi, over there. They had a meet and greet over there, crawfish cooking,
Yeah.
and at the Cajun Shack.
Yep.
Cajun, something like that.
Yeah. And we
Yeah,
went over there. That
Cajun
was
Shack.
back in May or something like that. We got out, and there was people that like, "Hey, you're those guys from Texas." And I was like, everybody knew Joe, and then they'd look at me like, "Can I get my picture?" I was like, "What? Are you serious?"
Yeah, it's crazy. You just got to hit that little niche, man. I hope you guys make it big, man. I really do, man. I want the best
And
for
the deal
everybody
of
out
it
there.
is, I mean, everybody's kind of got their own little niche. The way
Yeah.
Stell Cracker does it, that works for him. But a lot of times, whether it's with me and John or with Cooking with Cajun, what you see on the videos, what you gonna see in real life. That's just the way we are.
Yeah, and I mean, I was actually listening to some, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, which is, I guess part of the reason why I'm doing this. I'm just trying to hear people's stories, help people out, trying to put other people out there. And what a guy was saying, whenever you brand yourself, basically you're just telling your stories, and people are seeing the honest you, and then there's something that you're doing that's helping them, or they're learning something, or they like something that you're doing, and it's just you're telling your honest story, and something you're helping somebody out, and somebody finds something intriguing about you, and then starts making comments, starts following you, shares your stuff with everybody else, and it's just crazy how it all develops organically.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe reads scripture every morning whenever he does his little coffee deal, and I listen to it every day, and it helps me.
Yeah,
Just gives me a new outlook on the day.
Yeah, what do you read mostly? You saying something about Proverbs, Joe?
Mainly when I do my coffee deal, whatever the day is, like what is the day? The 8th?
Thursday, yeah, the 8th.
The 8th, I'll go to Proverbs 8, pick out a verse out of Proverbs 8. For example, on the 31st, one of the verses I always talk about is Proverbs 31:3.
Mm-hmm.
And the Proverbs 31, it's promoted a lot about women, which most of the chapter is about women and what a godly woman is. And
Mm-hmm.
they got ministries of Proverbs 31 woman, all kind of stuff, devotionals. But there's a verse at the very beginning that I wish I would have heeded to when I was young, and that's Proverbs 31:3.
Mm-hmm.
Give not your strength to women, it destroys kings. And basically, with that verse, don't chase women. Solomon's a good example, and you look all through history, how many great men have been brought to their knees. Samson, one in the Bible in the book of Judges, because of Delilah. But even before Delilah, all them other women that brought him, that lost his strength, one is not obeying God, but it involved his weakness with women. But I want to encourage young men, don't run around sleeping with women. When you get old and you die, nobody cares how many women you slept with. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But to set a goal, become a legend. Find something in life you want to do, set your goals, create a legacy, be a legend, and the right woman to come to you. Like John and I both, we got some wild past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, about as wild as you can get.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, we both ended up with really good women.
Yeah.
And neither one of us would be here without my wife, Tony, or his wife, Christine. That made a difference because we both run pretty wild and wide open. But when you build that legacy that you can hand down to your kids and your children's children, another verse in Proverbs talks about a man that creates a legacy or a inheritance for his children's children.
Yeah.
That's the type of man we need to be. And so that's the type of verses I'll give and do a little devotion about it. Of course, I'm selling coffee, but I'm doing it when I'm drinking my coffee. But try to encourage them, because you ask most young men nowadays, what's your goals in life? What's your ambition? They don't have any. All they're looking for is comfort, have a good time, chase the girls, where's the next party? None of that means anything in life.
No, and
Is it fun? Yeah. Me and John can tell you stories for the next 2 months of crazy crap we done. Yeah, it was fun, but it had a hard price to pay.
Yeah.
A very hard price to pay.
Dead end road.
And the thing is, it's like society now has all these little honeypots out, these traps, and it's just like, oh, you need this nice shiny new vehicle, you need this new you need this jewelry or whatever, and it's just to attract people and to allure them into a fake sense of whatever it is that they think they're trying to get. And I saw I saw a picture back, and I forget what it was on, but it was just like I asked an old man at work. He says, I need advice about money coming up. And he said he drew me a picture, and it's a guy walking down the street, and then there's this girl coming up, and she's got a tight red dress on, beautiful looking girl. And he drew an arrow across the street and up over here. And he says, I've been looking at it for 5 days, and I still can't figure out what he's trying to tell me. Basically, he was like, stay away from fast women. And I was like, that's pretty good advice, you know?
And false prophets.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I tell you, and all they cause was a lot of pain and heartache.
Yeah, and I mean the cool thing about Proverbs, you up in the morning reading Proverbs is, and I tell people this is even if you don't believe in the Bible, Proverbs was written by one of the wisest men in history, and you can glean all kind of life lessons out of there, and that will make you not only a good person, but it'll make you a wealthy person and a wise person if you just follow that stuff in that book right there. It'll bring you closer to
I
God.
tell people the same thing, and it's not just the book of Proverbs.
Mm-hmm.
People, all the Bible's not true, God, whatever. If that's what you think, if you still lived your life the way
Yep.
the Bible says, and this is one example I give, and people say it's impossible, it's ignorant in that. One of the things the Bible says is not to have sex outside of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
If that one thing right there, if everybody that's a virgin right now stayed a virgin until they got married, what would happen to sexually transmitted diseases?
What?
Everybody that's got them, once they're gone, it would eliminate all of them. Abortion's a big issue. What would happen to the abortion numbers if just married people are the ones that participate in sex?
Mm-hmm.
What would happen to the single mothers and a lot of other issues? All those numbers would go way down. Just that one thing.
Oh yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is that's something society's kind of lost is, what do they call it? The atomic family. Whenever you got a man and a woman and the 2 kids and a dog and all this stuff. And it's just like, society's in a crazy spot nowadays right now. And, I think a lot of it has to do with fathers not being in the home and just like you're saying, sex outside of marriage. And it's just, it's a weird thing because men don't have those role models of hard work and discipline and doing what you're supposed to do as a man and what a man's supposed to do anymore. And it's just like, and me and my wife,
when my boy was young and he started hitting that age of puberty, I stayed on him hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'd tell him it takes a stronger man to say no. Of course, that's the ones that get made fun of. But it takes a stronger man to say no than a man that just jump in bed with whoever and jump in bed with him.
Yeah.
But to be able to have that complete control over yourself just to say no.
Sure.
And then even I've had people, well, I want to test drive it before because then you're stuck with it.
I've heard that too.
If that woman you marry is the only woman you ever slept with, that's the best you ever had. You don't know no different. You happy with it. But then whenever you done slept with a bunch of women, or same with women, then they start comparing, well, this was better and that was better, and she won't do this. And you eliminate all that.
Sure. And my oldest daughter or whatever, she got with a guy whenever she was 16 years old. And, they got married and they had kids after marriage, and she finished college. And, I told her I was so proud of her, to finish college before she had kids. And they're the only ones they've ever been together, and so like they don't know any better, and they take such good care of themselves, and they just in love with each other. And I was just like, man, that's the way it's supposed to be. And how much would it be better if we actually lived by those biblical principles? And people, whenever they dated for compatibility, not just for looks or lust or whatever it is. It'd be a little bit better of a world.
The problem in society nowadays is people go on 3 or 4 dates and they hop into bed, and you got all them emotions tied up. And I'm privileged. It's an honor that I can say that my wife and I that I'm married to now, I was pastor at Cowboy Church, and I knew God said don't have sex outside of marriage, and I had to live an example. So me and my wife, we didn't do anything until after we got married. And I really didn't understand what the whole big deal was. But what I
Mm,
found, you take all them emotions out of the picture that is created through sex, and you have to learn, can I deal with this person? Can I be friends with this person? And you build a friendship and a relationship without all that other stuff involved in it. But
hmm
what happens is people jump into bed after 3, 4, 5 days, and then all them emotions get stirred up. Well, all I'm in love with this person. But then anybody that's been married any amount of time knows sex is like a roller coaster. 1 minute it's way up here, next time it's like non-existent. Then it'll come back up. It's just up and down. Whenever they hit that low spot, because that's what the whole relationship was based on, and it's gone. Well, I'm not in love. So then they go looking for it someplace else for that pleasure in that, instead of being able to just be with that person without sex being involved.
And the Bible said that when Adam was in the garden, he was lonely and he needed a helpmate. And God brought him Eve, and flesh of my flesh, wound of, bone of my bone, and he made that perfect helpmate for him. And that's supposed to be, just like you were saying, the best friend. And it's like now it's, oh man, I don't like this car. This car is broken down. I'm gonna go buy a new car. And it's just like, this relationship's busted. I'm gonna go find a new relationship. And people see all of these, you know, beautiful people on Instagram and all these fast cars, and they're like, and it's just like nobody can fix anything anymore. And it's just, I heard said one time, it's like the grass is always green on the other side. But man, sometimes when the grass is green on the other side, you just need to water your grass and take care of your
Yes.
business. You know what I mean?
And then this is another issue with people. And when I was pastoring Cowboy Church, people ask me for counseling. And I tell them, look, I'm not a counselor, but I can tell you what the Bible says. And if people do what Ephesians 6 says, and of course, they freak out about why submit to your husband. But if you do a little research, basically that means for a wife to honor her husband and for a husband to love his wife.
Sure.
Men don't care about love. I don't care how bad of a day a man has. He can be beat down, whooped, got fired, whatever. But if he comes home and his wife gives him a hug and a kiss and makes him feel like he's the king of that house,
Yeah.
he can come back out like he can whoop King Kong's ass and Superman on the side.
That's right.
But that's all a man takes. Men are that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a woman wants love and security. So, but the problem is, people, what am I getting out of it? And I would talk to these people and I'd say, this is what you need to do. Well, she would say, well, I ain't going to do that unless he does it. And he would say, well, I ain't going to do that unless she does it. For one, it starts with the man. The man needs to love his wife, provide security for his wife. Wherever a man puts in, normally a woman put in. It's changing now, but normally that's the way it works. But if you take care of each other's needs and stop worrying about your own needs, everybody's taken care of, and that's how that relationship grows. Because that man knows no matter what he does, and that was my biggest issue when I got my first divorce, was she quit me. That's the hardest part that I had to deal with. When we was going through hard times, she quit me. And so I had a hard time trusting anybody because, well, as soon as they time get hard, they go up and leave. But when that relationship grows, that man knows no matter what he goes through, that woman's going to be right there by his side. He can go through hell and back 1,000 times over. And then that woman knows no matter what happens, her husband's going to be there to love her and protect her. Then that's what causes that relationship to grow. But most times people are just in it for themselves nowadays. What am I getting out? I'm not happy.
What are you going to do for me? It's wise
And the
advice.
sad thing is, I heard it said the other day, a man will sacrifice his happiness for his family, but a woman will sacrifice her family for happiness. And not all women are that way, but society's getting that way, and it's pretty sad.
It's crazy. Oh, yeah, that's wise advice you just came up with. I like that. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that and incorporate that into me. It's always good to learn stuff. But in the Bible is just set up. It's like a textbook for life. There's so many things in there that can, kind of teach you lessons. And when you first read it, it's like you don't know exactly what it means, but after you start to get a little glimpse of it, you start to see yourself in it a little bit. And then whenever you could see, you realize that all those stories in there are your stories. You just got to figure out where to play your role in there. It becomes a little bit easier.
Well, whether it's true, and I believe 100% it's true, but even if it wasn't true, I've lived both ways.
Yeah.
And living that way is a whole lot better way to live than the other way. It's easier on the body.
Easier on the mind.
Easier on the mind. It's more peace of mind. It's a more, peace in heart. It's just a whole lot better overall person living that way versus just acting a fool. Would you say so, John?
I would totally agree. I did it the hard way to find out that, and this is pretty good.
Everybody thinks that, the Christian life is a boring life, and you can't have fun when you're Christian. But I don't believe that's true. We just get confused by the speed and the allure of everything else. But I try to do the best, and just like you guys said, I've lived a pretty fast life too.
As far as people say, Christian life's a boring life. God doesn't set all these rules to don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. He created us. He loves us. He knows us better than we know ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The reason he says don't do all them things, the same reason you tell your kids don't drive too fast. Don't put your finger in a light socket when they're little.
Come on.
It's not to keep them having fun. It's to protect you and keep you safe.
Come on, Joe. I love it, man. And I mean, that's just like what you're saying, because I try to protect my kids from themselves and my son, he's got the same name as me. And, whenever he was, up till he was 13 years old, he worshiped the ground I walked on. He thought I was a superhuman. He thought, I could do no wrong. And anytime I asked him to do something, he'd run and go do it. And then whenever he became about 13, 14 years old, he started being like, Daddy don't know it all. Daddy don't know what he's talking about. And he started kind of getting that attitude. And I would see myself in him. And it's just like, no matter what I tried to tell him or whatever, he had to kind of figure it out his own way. And I asked my friend one time, I says, dude, why did he do that? He said, you taught him everything you could. You've shown him everything you could. The only way he's going to be able to learn now is by experience. And whenever he needs you, he's going to come ask you. And I was just like, man. And that's just like God. He gave us his word, but he doesn't control us because we got free will. So he just kind of has to let us work it all out. But he really wants in his heart of hearts to protect us from ourselves, like you're saying.
One of the things that I hammered on my kids, especially my son, if you learn from watching my life and what I tell you, you will be 30, 40 years ahead of all your friends at the same age.
Come on. So tell me a little bit about family history.
Start off, John.
Starting with my mom and dad, I grew up in a working family, and my dad, he worked at a meat plant from way before daylight to way past dark every day. He was a manager of quite a few different packing houses, and my mom, she worked for, she retired from Texas A&M. She was a home economist, the 4-H lady. And anyways, she cooking, canning, quilting, crocheting. I learned all that from my mom, and yeah, I can do it all. Cause anytime there was county fair, she made sure me and my sister did everything. Because if we didn't do it, why would she expect somebody else's kids to? So, and my dad, he worked all the time. So, and that we started off in North Texas, Southeast Oklahoma. Moved to Idaho for a while when I was in my teenage years. First time I lived in town, that drove me nuts. That didn't last very long. We had to get out of there.
You didn't like the job?
I didn't know what to do in town.
That's right.
I had too much idle time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I spent a lot of time in my life in Texas Panhandle, and I love that country out there. I don't miss the wind blowing every day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I met my wife when I was 36. I think I was 36, and that's my first wife and my last wife. So
Come on.
we're
Come on.
we're fixing to be married. We'll be married 13 years next Tuesday, I believe, on the 11th.
Congratulations, man.
Maybe it's Monday, but anyways, and we live in downtown Deanville, just living the dream.
Yes, indeed.
It's interesting. John, the way he grew up, he moved around a lot to his dad's packing house. When I was about a year old, my dad joined the Air Force right there toward the end of Vietnam. We moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then that's when he got saved, gave his life to Christ. And then we moved to Michigan for a little while. Then he got out. We moved back to College Station, Texas. And that's about the time he got called to preach. And we moved from there to another town, Milano, Texas. And then he got a job as assistant pastor in Belen, New Mexico. So we moved out there. But like Johnson, my mom was full-blooded Bohemian, Czech. So she crocheted. She made all my sister and her clothes. She had a garden, we raised all our own hogs, chickens, rabbits. We did all that. And ironic, John, people always ask how we know how to cook. John always said we had mamas that wasn't afraid of the kitchen. But John learned to cook from his mama. My mama, that's where I learned how to cook. And then from there, we moved back to Texas the spring. My dad was assistant pastor there forever, for 20 years, but I was only about 5 years, and I joined the Air Force, went to Fort Worth, and doing Desert Storm. And then when I was in the Air Force, I got married and had 3 kids. And after 13 years, she left and ended up getting a divorce. Then I was single about 10 years. And then during that time, that's when I was acting crazy and wild down there in New Orleans. And when I come back from New Orleans, I started playing the guitar and doing the singing at the Cowboy Church. And that he's like, I believe God's moving me somewhere else, and I think you need to be the pastor. My first reaction to him, my exact words was, hell no. I grew up in that. I didn't want no part of it. But
right.
I couldn't get away from it. I was actually dating somebody who lived about 3 hours from here, and I actually got in my truck that night in the middle of the night, drove up there, laid up with her, and then I couldn't stay there. I got back in my truck, was coming home. I was scared to death God was going to kill me. Every time I see a car coming, I'd get way on the side of the road. Because I was terrified that, because he wanted me to pastor, and I went and still wanted to go act a fool.
Are you like Jonah?
Anyway,
with the
I
whale,
started pastoring the church, and then that's when I met my wife, and she didn't like me, and I didn't like her. But God had other plans, and now we've been married about 12 years. August been 12 years.
Congratulations, man. That's wonderful, man. Yeah, it's funny sometimes whenever we figure out what our purpose is, how do we try to walk away from it at first, because it's just like whenever somebody tells you that they see something in you, you're just like, no, that's not me. You're thinking of somebody else. And it's just crazy the way that God's plan and the destiny on people's lives comes about, because a lot of times
God's plan, we talked about it on the phone, but just so people know, when I was down there in New Orleans, I was coming back from the bar one night, and we were staying down there in St. Bernard Parish. And God says, enough's enough. Me acting a fool running the bars. And I ran into one of them big, massive live oak trees. I fell asleep. My friend that was with me killed him. My alcohol level was 0.06, but they still got me with negligent homicide. I just had to do probation for 5 years. I didn't get any prison time. But that's where my journey started changing me. And I come back to Texas, and then that's when God really started working on me to change my life. But he had to slam me into a tree about 60, 70 miles an hour to get my attention.
Some people heads are a little bit harder than others. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to get your attention in a crazy way. Yep. So what's y'all's best dish that y'all cook out there? How about you, John? What's your best dish?
I don't know. My favorite comfort food was my mom used to make me a Swiss steak anytime I ever asked for it, and then I made it in Dutch ovens one night with Joe over there at the ranch, and it turned out wonderful. That's the first time I'd ever cooked it in a Dutch oven. I'd only cooked it like once before, but anyways, that's kind of my
Well,
favorite.
it's kind of ironic. John and I, like I said, we didn't know each other just a couple years ago, but the similarities, like his is a Swiss steak with tomato gravy and mashed potatoes and that, which is the beef cutlet, which is the round steak.
Okay.
Mine, and every time I came home when I was in the Air Force, my birthday, whatever, when I'd get my mom to make me, she'd take them cutlets, cut them up, dip them in flour and fry them. It's not really chicken fried steak, but similar.
Right.
With mashed potatoes and cream corn.
Okay.
That was my comfort. That's
This
my
goes back
favorite
to that.
meal. I'll take it over a ribeye or anything.
Yeah, and I mean we do it a little bit different in Louisiana, so I'm just curious, like what y'all's go-to dishes out there. You know what I mean?
We about anything that we just kind of create every time we start cooking. We'll start off with peppers and we'll figure out what we're going to do there. I mean, cactus or whatever
See,
we
John
can.
and I, we don't believe in no rules on cooking. That's why we don't do no cooking competitions.
Right?
Like we went to KP and Skies down there.
We knocked that out of the park. That was good.
We're like, what we go cook? I don't know. John had some cactus and some sweet peppers. I had some skirt steak, a petite tender, and a flat iron.
We had a can of tomatoes.
A can of Rotel tomatoes. We stopped at the store, got an onion, some New Mexico green chili, some jalapenos. And when we got there, we just cut it all up, threw it together, and cooked it. And everybody, oh, what is that? What is that called? Well, it's basically some crap John and I threw together. We don't have any like set recipe, and then I made some homemade corn tortillas to put it in with some cheese on it.
Yeah, I love some Spanish style cooking, Texas style. You know, that's something about it. All the peppers and just fresh spices and stuff. It's just amazing. You know.
That was the deal when we first started cooking together. Like the first time that we got together and cooked, there was no seasoning thrown in there. I mean, splash of kosher salt and coarse ground pepper, but just all, nature spices, just peppers. Different styles of peppers create different heat and different taste. And anyways, we always make it work out.
But that's part of how John and I learned to cook in our bachelor days. Is because you ain't got no money because you've been running a beer joints. You just go to the refrigerator and the pantry and see what's in there.
That's right.
And just start throwing crap together and hope it turns out good.
Hey, season it until it tastes right, huh?
I was always pretty fortunate. I might not have much in the pantry, but I had a freezer full of meat, or deer meat or beef, I was fortunate there.
Yeah, y'all live in cattle country out there. What kind of deer y'all got out there by y'all?
Whitetail.
Not very big.
Yeah. So. What'd you say, John?
They're not very big body wise.
Okay,
out
as
there,
far as the whitetail?
West Texas and stuff. Yeah, West Texas, you can get out there and get those mule deer and stuff. And, man, you can fill up the freezer pretty quick with a couple of them.
Yeah. What about those axes? Did they make it out there by you guys?
No, there's too much population.
There's some over by the airport.
There's some red stag over around Giddings, but I don't know.
I'm driving down the highway down 60 one day, and it's dark. And I'm like, what is that in the freaking road? Is that a horse? I got up on it. It was a freaking elk. It was two of them. I called my buddy, and I was like, is there anybody with a game ranch? No, not that I know of. And about 20 minutes later, he sent me a picture from his buddy that was highway patrol. There was a elk. Apparently, the guy had a game ranch, pissed his neighbor off. The neighbor tied a chain to his fence with a tractor and yanked it all down. So all them elk and axes and everything took off. So apparently, behind the airport where you work, down in there's some axes back in there.
Oh, I've almost hit 2 of them last week.
But I'll take axes over whitetail any day of the week.
Dude,
I got the hard up one.
That Axis is hard to beat, man. I've only had it once or twice, but man, that's some good deer meat right there,
Now, if
buddy.
you go down to the Texas Hill Country down there, the other side of Austin, there's axis everywhere.
Yeah, they said. I mean, they say
Yeah,
they're
you
an
can hunt
invasive
them year
species,
round.
huh?
They're not native, so you can just go down there 365 days a year as long as you got a hunt license. You can shoot axis, black buck, all that other stuff.
Do they classify them as an invasive species, or they're just not native?
No.
The Axis.
Huh?
The Axis, they do do them as invasive species.
Yes, they're all invasive species and that, so you can hunt them year round. That's why there's no hunting season on them, just as long as you got a hunt license. But then, like hogs, used to you had to have a hunt license. Now you don't even have a hunt license; just shoot the thing.
We're pig poor around here, that's for sure.
Yeah. Y'all don't got no hogs?
Pigs galore.
Oh, y'all do have hogs, yeah.
We got them.
Lots of hogs.
Yeah. They don't have no season on those. You just hunt them year round, huh?
No, you ain't even got to have a hunt license. Just shoot them.
Yeah.
Gut shoot them, maybe they'll run off. You won't have to drag them off.
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine, Mr. Jerry, and he works with the wildlife people over here, and they drop those big hog traps down. And whenever they got a few of them in there, he'll call them up, and they'll pop a few of them, and he'll call me up and ask me if I want a couple of those pigs. And those little 60 to 90 pounders, man, they sure do make some good sausage. You know what I mean? And it's taking care of.
We got plenty down here if you want some.
I might take a trip. Now, don't threaten me with a good time now, Joe.
Joe's got one of them net traps over there that you can catch a pile of in that sucker.
And last time I set that thing, I caught 12 of them in there.
Come on. Yeah. So
even at my house, I got another trap over there, and every time I set it, I get anywhere from about 6 to 12 hogs in it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh,
they tear up too much pasture.
I got you. Hey, yeah, they are some rudders. So you make coffee out there at the ranch, right? So where do you get your beans from? You don't grow the coffee there,
Where I get my coffee beans, I teamed up with Aggieland Coffee, and one of the guys at Aggieland Coffee, his family owns the coffee plantation in Nicaragua.
Okay.
And his mother and his brother sends the coffee beans from Nicaragua up to the ship channel in Houston. Go down there and get it, and then we roast it, grind it, bag it, everything right here. And so I teamed up. They put my label on it, but I do go help them do all that stuff.
Yeah. Do you guys ship that coffee
but
or
it's
what?
a single origin estate coffee, and what that means is all the coffee beans come from that one area. A lot of times it's coffee, it'll be the whole country of Nicaragua. They just throw them all together. This is single origin, same soil, same altitude, same rainfall, same everything. So that's where you get that consistency and that blend, and that's what makes it a premium coffee.
Right.
Just like buying beef. You buy beef off a local rancher, producer, you're going to know where it came from, and he's going to know what animal it was. It's not going to be 30 different ones thrown in a pound of meat.
Yeah, a lot of people think that's crazy. That's not possible. But when you buy ground beef at the store, it can have 30, 40 different DNAs in that 1 pound of ground beef, because they just throw all that stuff together and grind it.
Trim, yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's just I spoiled my wife. We got a steer cut up or whatever, and packed the freezer. Made a bunch of ground meat, a few steaks, and all that stuff, but mostly ground meat. And after my kids and and my wife had that actual grass fed meat, it was just like they were like, I'm not. I don't want any of that stuff from the store anymore. So that's the coffee right there.
No, it's a world difference.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like what I do now
There's a coffee right there.
There it is. Shout out to KD Bar Coffee. I'm gonna give a little chance at the end of the podcast. Give a shout out to anybody that you want to talk about, sponsor, talk about your channel and all that stuff at the end.
Yeah, they can either go to my website, KDBarKettleCompany.com, go to merchandise, it's on there, or they can buy it on TikTok Shop, either one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some of that coffee sent out, man. I love some good coffee, man. So, how's the deal with the immigration out there? We touched on it a little bit. Tell us about the people y'all got around the area. Tell me about
As
y'all's
far as
start.
immigration with us, there's a few around here, but most of them have been here
Years.
15, 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have that big of an issue right here in Deanville because everybody's going to the big cities.
Yeah.
They're gonna go to Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, stuff like that, where the big construction jobs are. And they said, I'm torn on the issue. You got to have laws. You got to have requirements. You can't just let anybody in.
Mm-hmm.
But I have friends that did come over here illegal 20, 30 years ago. There's some working fools. I've worked with them. They're good friends.
Oh yeah.
And the sad thing is, the new generation we got coming up,
It's a lot different.
I don't care if they're an African American, they're Hispanic, they're white. This younger generation does not want to work. They don't understand the concept that we got a job that needs to be done to get it done. All they're worried about is showing up to work, do the least amount they can, and get as much paycheck as they can, and complain about everything. But them men, I've worked with them for years. They just work. They don't complain. They don't gripe about the weather, too hot, too cold, it's raining, working weekends. They're serious. They want to get the job done. They take personal pride in their manhood and that they're going to do the job, get it done, do whatever it takes, get it done, and go to the next job.
Yeah. There's some hard working ones out there. I remember one time, and a buddy of mine, he's actually Spanish, and he was in the air conditioning union or something like this, and he was kind of complaining. He was like, "Yeah, they got a Mexican they brought over here, and he's come and take our job." And it's like, he's come and try and take my job. I said, "No, he's probably gonna come over there and take 2 or 3 of your jobs." You know what I mean? Because that dude probably works his butt off. You know, and I mean, I've worked around some Spanish people, and they're some of the hardest working people out there. Good people, give you the shirt off their back, you know, and take care of you and want to just treat you like a king, feed you, you know, give you the best spot in
They
the
want
house.
to be treated like people too.
Yeah,
This is something interesting.
100%.
This is just one friend of mine. He came over here to the United States when he was 13. His daddy told him he didn't want him coming, but he knew he couldn't stop him, so he bought him a new pair of boots to make the trip.
Mm-hmm.
I forget how many, 7, 8 days they walked. The blisters and that were so bad on his feet, and his boots filled up with blood that his socks were just stuck to his feet. He said he couldn't hardly walk, but he just kept walking because he had a brother up here. He knew he had to get to his brother's.
Wow.
They had the water they carried with them and drank that water. And then when it run out, they went a couple of days without water so they could find water, but they went about 7, 8 days without eating. And they walked all the way from the border. I forget how far they come up before they finally found somebody to give them a ride to take them to Dallas. And then he called his brother from Dallas, and his brother went and picked him up. But that's how bad they wanted to be here. And it wasn't nothing about drugs. It wasn't nothing about, they just wanted to come here to work and make a better life for themselves.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and the sad thing is how many American people would go through that to be here.
Not
I
many.
said, I'm torn on the issue. You got to have laws. You can't just let anybody that wants to come across the border. I mean, you can't do that.
Right. You know,
There's got to be some kind of vetting to, you know, make sure the people that don't, because there is a serious drug issue with the fentanyl and all that other stuff. There's a lot of human trafficking. It's a bad deal with the coyotes and that getting them people over here. You know, sometimes they pay them thousands of dollars and
then they just abandon them.
They just abandon them in a truck or whatever. A lot of people, I mean, it's a bad deal.
Yeah.
But they want to be here in America.
Sure.
To
And I mean,
live free, raise their family, make good money, and make something of themselves. And the sad thing, I'll give you an example. This is how serious they are. That one friend of mine, his son was born here, graduated, and going to college. And then they kept trying to call him, and he wasn't answering the phone. It's about a 3-hour drive from where they lived to where he was going to college. My friend left the house that night. They had that tracking deal on the phone so they could tell where he was. And he was at some old gal's house. And he went in there and knocked on the door and got him. Said, I didn't send you to college to run around and party with the girls during the week. And he made him go to the room and do his schoolwork at college. He is going to graduate college. He said, you don't know what I went through to get here, that you could be born here. And then when the summertime got there, he told me he needed to go get a job. He said, well, I got a job. He said, no, working 4 hours at a little old fast food restaurant a day is not a job. You need a 9, 10-hour a day job, or you ain't staying here at my house. He made him go get a job where he's working 9, 10 hours a day, at least 5 days a week. But they take all that stuff serious, and they instill that in their kids. Most American people don't do that no more.
Yeah, and I mean it's a shame because I've talked with many of people that aren't from this country, not originally, and I was asking them what they think because I don't know what people outside of the country think, and like people that actually came from Mexico or whatever country and like fought to get their citizenship here, or some people from Africa that have come over here to work, and I said, what do you think about all of this craziness with people? Uh, urinating on the flag or burning the flag or saying this country is terrible. And they was like, they all like, it's terrible. Everybody comes here for the American dream. It's not like it's the Mexican dream. It's not the African dream. It's not the Australian dream, the European dream. It's the American dream. And people, like you said, they're paying coyotes thousands of dollars to get here. And they got some people who are born into this place and they think it's the worst thing in the world. And I honestly think that everybody should be forced to go in the military out of high school so that you have some sense of, unity, some kind of
Well,
skin.
even if they don't join the military,
Yeah,
they should have to go spend 6 months in a country like Mexico or the Middle East or something like that. So they see we live in a glass bubble here in the United States.
Sure.
What we have in the United is not the real world.
Right.
And they need to go live in one of them other countries and see what the real world's like.
Yeah.
And they'd appreciate a lot more of what we have. The simple fact that women can go to the store, drive themselves without, there's always a possibility something happened, but the odds are not that great compared to other countries. Where women, it's crazy. They talking about we losing our rights after this last election. Women, you want to talk about losing your rights? Go to other countries where they can't go to college. They can only go to like 8th grade if they can go to school at all. They can't drive. They can't show their face. They're treated, like a third-rate citizen.
Yeah.
A goat and dogs got more respect and rights than they do.
Sure.
And they need to go over there and hang out and see what it's about, and then have more appreciation that they're born in a free country, that they can do all this.
And it's so crazy because, we live in a country full of instantaneous gratification, whether it's your phone, whether it's food from the convenience store or McDonald's or whatever it is. Because I had a friend of mine, and he was actually on a podcast of mine, but his name is Joel DeSherry, and he goes to Africa, India, South America, and they help pump water wells. And basically he told me how he got into it. He said the lady that asked him, she came in and he's like, what can I do to help? He's like, and she asked him, she says, Joel, have you ever been thirsty? And he's like, yeah. He says, have you ever been thirsty and couldn't find water? You didn't know where you would get water from? And he was like, I've always just asked the stewardess on the plane or, went to the store. It's like, no, I didn't. He says, the people we're trying to help, they can't find water. They don't have water. They don't have it for themselves, for their families. And he was like, wow, how can I help? And it's just like people out there, we don't realize, how good we got it. And like I was telling you, not that this makes me great or anything like this. We go, you take some little mission trips down to Mexico, and it's crazy how to be in a place without electricity or without air conditioning, or you gotta bring in water because you can't drink the water that's there, and it's just it gives you a whole new realization, like you were saying. Once you
Yeah.
go out the country, it's real easy to come back, and you flip the light switch and the lights come on. You know what I mean?
Well, here's two examples. One, we go down there in Mexico. They them little girls, we'd be up in the villages, and them little girls carrying them pots of water on their head up to the village.
Yep.
What they did all day, just to have water to drink. We take it for granted. And I had a conversation with a guy. He's like, "Oh, we got to have water. That's a right." No, water and electricity is not a right. It's a luxury.
Sure.
There's lots of other countries that don't have it. And then that missionary that we had seen down there, he brought some men from Mexico to Texas. And he was an older gentleman. He was looking around and driving all through Texas. And he said, it ain't no wonder that Texas took all this from Mexico. All the streets are paved and all the houses got electricity. Everybody's got running water. But he was serious. I mean, he wasn't joking because they grew up where they lived. They didn't have any of that.
That's funny. He said, no wonder y'all took this. This is a good spot, huh?
Right.
That's funny, but not funny. You know what I mean? Oh,
But we just take it for granted.
But
Sure.
people think they're entitled to this. They're just entitled to it. And we owe everybody something, you know. I mean, you owe yourself something. That's for sure.
I get
Yeah.
talking about McDonald's instant gratification.
Mhm.
They pull up, if they order and they pull up to that last window and they got to pull up and wait, they get pissed off. I mean, it's literally been like 3 or 4 minutes. Where else in the country can you go and get something to eat? It's hot in just a matter of minutes.
So
But if they got to wait 10, 15 minutes, unless you're Whataburger here in Caldwell, it takes like 45 minutes, which is ignorant. But
yeah, but hey, Whataburger lost a step after COVID. That's all I can tell you. You know,
this Whataburger we got in Caldwell, we live, it's a joke.
sad.
None of the locals really go there
yeah.
because you'll literally sit in a drive-thru for 30, 40 minutes.
Well, y'all got fresh beef out there. They probably gotta go kill it and put it on the grill. You know what I mean?
It'd be a lot faster.
Yeah.
Hey, just go cut your own beef out there.
It would be a lot faster to go kill the cow, cut it up, grind it, and put it on the grill than it would to go through that Whataburger in Caldwell.
Yeah, and I was a little late coming on to this cast with you guys earlier because I had to go drop my wife's vehicle off at the mechanic shop, and she said I'm gonna order some pizza. So we went over there to Little Caesars, and $5 hot and ready, and we're waiting for the pizzas.
Right.
And I'm like, what's taking so long? She's like, it's in the oven. I was like, it's been in the oven for 25 minutes. And boy, I'm sitting there looking at my watch, and I'm just sitting there like, what's taking them so long? She's like, baby, just be patient. I said, I'm supposed to do this at 7:00. And she's like, just be patient. And I'm just like, we don't have any patience anymore.
Yeah.
And the first time I went down to Mexico, we were down there, and we had like a couple of spots. We went to a couple of churches, and a buddy of mine, he's been down there before, and he was kind of like letting me know what's going on. And I was just like, hey man, it's supposed to start at 6. And I was just like, he's like, no, Chad, they start gathering at 6. And I'm like, huh? He says, you're thinking about American time. He says, we're on Mexican time right now. It's just like people start to show up when they want. I was like, and it's just, I couldn't wrap my head around it. You know what I mean?
Well, did you notice something about Mexico? How much slower paced the society is over there to compare it over here? Over here, everybody's in a hurry.
Oh yeah. They seem a little happier too.
I mean, they take their time to come right after lunch. They take a siesta, take their nap. All the stores shut down. They get up about 1, 2 o'clock, go open their shops and stores back up. They don't get no hurry.
Yep. What you getting in a hurry for? Oh, so y'all guys are Texas A&M fans.
I am. Are you one, John?
I'm an Oklahoma Cowboy fan.
Okay. Now
But
tell me this.
I root for A&M some.
Oh yeah.
His daddy graduated from Oklahoma State.
So how come A&M don't have any cheerleaders?
I've always wondered that. I always thought that was odd. They got four guys that run around there and clap their hands, and I'm like,
Well,
Yeah.
the
Joe,
reason
tell me.
why is originally It was an all men college.
Okay.
So that's where the yell leaders came instead of cheerleaders.
Okay.
And then it didn't become, they didn't start, I mean, there was women that went there like professors, daughters and stuff like that. But women didn't really start going in around the 70s, somewhere around there, when they started letting women go to A&M.
Yeah.
Maybe late 60s, I'm not sure, but that's how they ended up with the Yale leaders. And yes, I'll
Yeah.
be the first to say it's kind of weird, but it's just one of their traditions. And originally, when it started out, it was like the poor boys college.
Yeah, it was agriculture mechanics.
Whereas University of Texas, that's where all the rich kids went, and all the poor people that they went to A&M. But
Okay.
then now A&M's grown massive.
Yeah.
I think it's right there. It may be one of the largest colleges as far as student wise, but lots of money and lots of people.
Yeah, and I just had to ask you about that because I just got back from Detroit, and they had one of the inspectors up there and one of the mechanical engineers, and they were both A&M graduates. And my buddy, he's an LSU fan from right here in Louisiana. He's like, and they said something messing with him or whatever. It's like, man, y'all got some of the ugliest cheerleaders I've ever seen in my life, and they just both kind of looked at him. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, they only have cheerleaders. They got cheer whatever they are.
Yeah,
and I was
leaders.
like, yeah, leaders. And I
Well,
was
they
just
may
like,
not
what is that?
have
And I didn't
cheerleaders
even
as
get it.
pretty as LSU.
Boy,
Yeah.
you ought to hear them yell when they're beating LSU, though.
Hey,
But I will tell you this, their cheerleaders may not be as pretty as LSU, but they got a whole lot deeper pockets. People do not comprehend how deep the pockets are at A&M.
Oh, I bet, man. Those big schools, they do bring in some money. So, what would be your advice for 18 to 25-year-old guys out there, guys? Just guys that just starting out in their life, their career. What would be a good direction?
Proverbs 31:3. Don't give your strength to women. It destroys kings. Be a legend. Build a legacy. Start working on it now.
Yeah.
You work that, make something. Here's an example. My son's 27, and I hounded on him. He's 27 years old. He owns a house in town. He's got 33 acres out across from the ranch. He's got a beautiful wife, a beautiful young girl. He's got 8 years in the Navy. And he's going to college to get his degree in cybersecurity. That's what he did in the Navy. But how many 27-year-old kids he knows got all that already?
That's wonderful.
He's knuckled down. He's on track.
Got to move in
And he
the
don't
right
play.
direction.
He got married young. He asked me about it. I said, get married young. You don't need to chase women. I said, get you a good woman that'll stick with you and build something.
Mhm.
And that's what he's doing. And that would be my advice to all them young men. Forget about chasing them women. You don't have to go to college. If you want to go, just pick something. Set goals in life and stick with it. Don't let nothing. That was one of my verses, I think 25:4 in Proverbs. I had to go back and look. But it's all about keeping your eyes straight forward and your gaze in front of you. Just like a horse or mule with blinders. Don't let nothing distract you. The fancy trucks, the fancy pretty women, whatever your goal is in life, set that goal, stick with it, go after it. And you'll be, by the time you get in the 30s, you'll be way down the road compared to everybody else. They're still trying to just figure life out. And put God first. Trust God. When I went through my divorce, I was like, God, why you put me through this? But now, God knows what he's doing. I'm way better off. I mean, we can talk for 3 hours about why I'm better off. But mainly the wife I have now that's with me and supports me. But here's another good example of trust God and what he's doing when things look bad. The election we just had. We asked, well, God, why, Trump, most of Trump supporters believe in God, anti-abortion, believe in Bible, believe in the church. Why'd you let him lose? If Trump would have won in 2020, he wouldn't have had Congress. He wouldn't have had the Senate. It'd been very limited in what he can do, and then his 4 years would have been up. But now, 4 years later, he's got the House, he's got the Senate, he's got the Supreme Court, he's got a good team behind him to support him, and he can get a lot more done. God knows what he's doing. Just trust him.
Yeah.
And it was just like in 2020, whenever he got in, he didn't have Bobby Kennedy supporting him. He didn't have Elon
Nope.
Musk with him.
Right.
He didn't
Nope.
have Tulsi Gabbard. He didn't have all these other people, that are pretty liberal in their beliefs, and like lifelong Democrats. They came alongside of him, and to help him. And if everything goes right, they should be able to move some ground. And I hope they do well.
Everything's in God's time.
I like that.
And
Very good.
sometimes God got to put you through hard times, one to make you stronger, and that everybody wants that comfort. But to build anything in life, like me going to college now, the school works hard. It don't come easy. If you want to stay in shape, you got to work out. You can't get bigger and stronger without the pain. And
Right.
It's the same. My wife asked me, how come nothing ever bothers you? I'm like, well, you've been through the crap I've been through. It just ain't all that important. It just doesn't matter. I remember when I used to freak out about being a day late for the electric bill. But everything I've been through, that's the least of my worries. Everything's gonna work out right. And most of the stuff that we worry about, 90% of it never comes true. And the stuff that did come true, I went through it and I'm still here.
Yeah. And I asked God a long time ago whenever I was going through some little whatever troubles, because that's all it ends up being is just little small insignificant stuff. And I was like, why is my life so hard? And basically he told me, because I need you to be strong. And we wouldn't be able to push through, and we wouldn't be able to be calm under pressure if we'd never seen any trouble, or if because just like the Bible says, it says when trouble comes, it didn't say if trouble comes, God's gonna be with you. He says when trouble comes, I will be there with you. And what a comfort that is, because we know trouble's gonna come. It's happened, it's happening, and it's gonna happen. So
it's coming for sure.
Sure. So,
but I've learned to embrace it. Thank God for it.
Yeah. Let you know you're alive, huh?
Yeah. Life's just stuff. That's all it is, stuff.
Right.
My wife and I, we buried a daughter. It should have been 9 years ago. And, when you go through that, I went through that with Christina, and that's the toughest woman I ever met,
Wow.
Just that she handled that better than I did. She didn't, she just handled it on the outside better. But anyways, it's life is all about stuff. And most stuff is just meaningless until you come up on something like that.
Yeah, something significant.
So you surround yourself with friends and family, true friends and family, and it ain't no big deal. You can do anything.
Yeah, we all the little small problems we go through is insignificant compared whenever something like that happens, and then you realize that you come along with family, and that's the people that's really most important with you. The ones that are there with you. So, what do y'all see yourself in 3 to 5 years with the way everything's going? What's the direction?
I'm gonna be running that shovel over there, putting them coals on top for Joe. I let him and Cable do all the TikTok and that. I just like to be the silent, good looking one over
there. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Everybody's gonna have the FaceTime, huh? He's the face of the operation.
Yeah.
That's good.
Where I see myself in the next 20, I'm 54 years old. I don't never plan on checking up till God says it's time to leave.
Right.
But getting my college behind me and working on my agribusiness degree, I plan on having a couple small processing plants, selling lots of beef and coffee, and turning the Katie Bar brand into nationwide recognized brand, not only with my coffee and my beef, but with, shirts, stuff like that, to be a recognized brand. That's my ultimate goal, and turn it into an empire to hand down to my son, and he can hand it down to his kids, or my daughters too. I got 2 daughters, but something to hand down to them, and like I said, build a legacy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of eat up with it, but it's what gets me up every morning and drives me.
Good, man. Good. That's just like that movie Forrest Gump. It's gonna be a household name. I hope for it too. Do you guys ship your beef?
What's that?
Do you ship your beef?
Yeah, I was shipping beef, but I'm completely out right now.
Okay. No,
It'll
I
be
saw
a couple months before I get some more.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of companies. They went over whenever the price of beef went way down and the price of feed went way up. It's like all kind of farmers were going out of business because they couldn't afford to feed the cattle, and the price of beef wasn't worth it and all that. And I did notice that there was a lot of cattle farmers, and they started, instead of trying to bring their beef to the barns or whatever, they started, kind of, doing that whole online and shit. Yeah, yeah. And that's an amazing thing. So it sounds like it's going pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it's lots of work to keep up with.
I bet.
But it definitely works because you cut out all the middlemen. And there's from the cow-calf operation to the time it gets to the grocery store, they're going to change hands anywhere from 5 to 8 times.
Yeah.
And travel about 3,000 miles.
And everybody's got the hand in it a little bit, taking a little, scrapping a little something off the top so you don't get nothing.
They say that between all the people that own that particular steer, that the first owners will get about 55% of it, and the very last owner would be the packing house and the grocery store. They get about 45% of what it makes. But if you cut all them people out, then which you got to do all the work. This is people like the idea, but what they don't realize is you're the cow-calf operation. You're the feed yard, which I'm doing grass finish, so they just on pasture. But then you take them to the processor, and then you're the grocery store. But you're also the marketing department. You're also the shipping department. Right. You're all of that. And it's lots of work.
What? And you mentioned something about college. Tell me a little bit about college right now. What's the goal with that? Going back to school.
When I got out of the Air Force in '93, that was my original plan. And then I came home, and my wife at the time said that she was pregnant with her second daughter. And so I just went and got in my truck right then, went and got a job, never looked back. And now that I can go to college, being a Texas veteran, most of my tuition's paid. And for one, doing the agribusiness, like it's talking about the marketing and that, if you can learn the marketing and get good at marketing, it doesn't matter what you're selling, whether it's coffee or beef or T-shirts. But I want to learn the business aspect of it. And I know you don't have to go to college for that, but it helps tremendously. And it's not just going to college and learning it.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to get, actually when John and I become really close friends, is he came to church one day and I said, I've been thinking about getting our own processing plant. And he's like, me too. I've been thinking about that. And then we went to Idaho with his dad. But it's about a $7 million investment.
Okay.
And when you've never had a project that big to your name,
sure,
to show them your success rate, and also you don't have that college degree, that sets up walls. And it really doesn't matter, but to a lot of people it does matter. So to eliminate that, and then plus the networking within going to A&M, that Aggie network, which is a very strong network.
Sure. And you might
so
you meet the right business partner or something like that, or the right or a business agent or something like that, they might know the right people to put you at the right place at the right time and just hit it off, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
that's kind of it. Like I said, you don't have to go to college to be successful. There's thousands and thousands of people that have been successful without college.
Sure.
But there's another time place. There is people that do take that serious. And if you got it, it just eliminates it. You can learn anything right now from the internet. Anything
Yeah.
you can learn in college, you can learn online.
No,
But the
100%.
thing about with the college, it says you read the book, you took the test, you passed the test, and they gave you a piece of paper saying you did all that.
Yeah, you was dedicated enough
Instead
to
of just
sit there and get through it.
The complete. Yeah.
Yep,
so,
100%.
and it just shows, and especially when people hear I'm going to college at 54, a lot of them are shocked. They're like, "Why are you going to college?" Something I always wanted to do.
That's right.
And so that adds a little to it. Because, I have been successful. I've worked all the way up to the general manager in pipeline construction company.
Right.
Doing almost $200,000 a year at one time. And I could probably go back into it, but I don't want to travel all over the country. And I want to build something for me. Me and my friend, me and John Cable, everybody around here.
Right.
Build something massive. And
like
that's part of what the TikTok and the social media is about.
Absolutely,
Getting
man.
the word out, people seeing us, seeing the brand, the Katie Bar brand with the coffee, seeing the Katie Bar brand, and to build it up.
That's right. They say stay. One of my old managers, he told me, he said, just stay green. If you're green, you're growing. And just like at 54, you're still learning and you're still growing. So that's awesome, man. And that's what life's all about: growing.
Well, this
growing
is what I've had people tell me I dream too big. But the way I look at it, if you're right here where this Coke can is, and you just shooting for this right here, and you don't make it, you just end up right there. But if you shooting for way the hell over there, and you don't quite make it, you still way past if you just had small dreams.
That's right. You gotta shoot for the moon. That way, if you miss, you land amongst the stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see y'all put Deanville on the map, man.
That's the game plan.
I like it, baby. I love it, man. So, what's your best advice so far that you've ever received?
The best advice I ever received? Well, the sad thing is I've had lots of advice and I didn't take it. I had to learn the hard way. So I get more advice. But the biggest advice that I got is what I just said. Dream big.
Big. I like
Don't
it.
check up.
That's right.
Another thing, when I got out of the Air Force, when I was looking at cowboying for a living, there's an old man, he's in his 80s. And he would just sit on his front porch dipping snuff, spitting. I went and asked him, Mr. Jake, I said, times have changed, so I was going to ask him if he thought you could still make a living cowboying and penning cows. I asked him, Mr. Jake, you think you can still make a living cowboying for a living? He never looked at me. He just kept looking out in the yard. Then he spit. He said, well, boy, I guess you can make a living picking up aluminum cans on the side of the road if you hustle. And that always stuck with me. It don't matter what you do, just hustle. Never stop working, keep pushing.
I like that. Just hustle. So do you have a catchphrase that you use, Joe?
Nah, they told me I need to get one.
I think you need to have one.
No.
What is it?
No, not the coffee one.
The coffee.
No.
My wife gets mad at me, but whenever I'm doing my coffee, I always say, don't have a suck-ass day. Drink Katie Bar coffee.
Miss Tony goes and prays for us real quick when he says that.
But the funny thing is, old Matt with Farm to Fire, and we had our big event in Massonville. He's like, man, you got me the other day. I said, what are you talking about? He said, man, you was doing your devotional, and it was getting all deep and all that. And then when you got done, you take a drink of coffee and say, don't have a suck ass day. He said, it just blew me away. I was getting all into it.
You know, that's it, man.
But I mean, there's some truth to it though.
Yeah,
You actually have a choice.
you
Yeah,
actually do.
you make your own.
You know, no matter what happens in life, you have a choice. Am I going to let this ruin my day? And trust me and John both get hot tempered. It don't take much to set us off.
Yeah.
Some people can drag pressure washers and that down the road behind the truck.
Yeah.
But you have a choice. Am I going to let this bother me or not?
Yeah.
If somebody does something to you, are you going to let them have enough control over you that you're allowing them to ruin your day?
Sure. And it's just like,
why do you want to give other people that much authority over your mood, your happiness, and your life?
Yeah. Let them steal your joy.
And the deal is, I was in that bad wreck. I could have been dead.
Yeah.
I stood before a judge, wondering if he's going to send me to prison or not. And that's a pretty eerie feeling. Down there in St. Bernard, Louisiana. 3 almost died of COVID. They told my wife I wasn't going to make it through the night. I was on ventilator for 3 days, ICU 4 days, laid up in the hospital for a month. Lost 40 pounds in 30 days.
That was tough.
And I couldn't hardly walk 10 feet. Nobody thought I was going to make it.
I didn't think I'd ever see him.
But I survived all that. God still got a purpose for me.
Right.
And whatever his purpose is, I'm going to do my best to accomplish it. And I'm happy to be here. So all that other pilly stuff don't matter. It really doesn't.
That's it, man. I like that.
I'm just happy to wake up every morning, see my grandkids, see my wife, come hang out with John and Cable, do some cooking. Sky gives me a hard time because I don't ever smile, but I'm still happy having fun.
I can see it all over you, man. That's good, man. I like it. Yeah, that's what life's all about, having a good time and having good friends and family around to share stuff with. I don't know. What else? I think
just
that's
live for God, trusting him. I guess the best advice, trusting God like he's the only hope, which he is, but work every day like it's up to you, because he's not going to just, Dr. Tony Evans, I used to listen to on the radio every morning preaching. One of the things he said that really stuck with me
Kingdom Man
was that God says he'll feed the birds. But have you ever seen a bird on a tree limb with his mouth open and God just dumping worms in his mouth? That bird, from the time the sun comes up till he goes down, he's out there hustling.
Just hustle.
God takes care of him, but he ain't just sitting there letting him be lazy.
That's right. That's right. But that's it. I think we can stick a pin on that one right there. John, I like it. Joe, I like it. I thank you guys for coming on, man. I really enjoyed talking with y'all, man.
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate it. I sit on the phone the other day. John and I looking at doing a podcast, the Joe and John show.
Yeah.
He's got a friend that's got all the equipment and that. So we've been kicking it around.
Yeah.
And then the interesting, I think you're on the right path with these podcasts, because that's something that came out with this election.
Yeah.
People are getting more information and they have more trust in these podcasts like Joe Rogan. What's that other crazy dude that was a dopehead and that Trump went on his show?
Theo.
Theo.
Yep.
You know, people can actually, like we're having this conversation, and see who they really are.
Sure.
And they're turning more and more away from the media and that, and they're getting their information from podcasts.
Getting away from the propaganda back to the common sense.
Right, because you don't know who you could trust anymore. Because, I mean, I knew the government was lying to us. I know the media was lying to us. So where do you get your news from? It's just...
Like I was flipping through my phone earlier today, and it was a live with the press secretary.
Oh, bless her heart.
And she's like, Trump is inheriting one of the most, the healthiest, strongest economies in American history.
Lowest unemployment rate, lowest inflation ever.
And I'm like, does she really actually believe that? Does she really believe it, or she just lying? Which is it?
I think it's the
hope she's
latter.
lying, and I
Yeah.
hope she's not that stupid to actually believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, it baffles my mind whenever I hear that saying. I just got to shake my head. You know what I mean?
Oh, I had to quit watching the news a couple of months ago. I just started watching Gunsmoke every night because I just get mad and there ain't nothing I can do about it. You know,
No,
I mean,
they'll steal your joy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They'll
they
take
sure will.
But
they'll take
this is some of the things I did that really changed my life. Like watching the media. When Trump lost in 2020, that's the day I quit watching the main news, Fox, all them other ones. I just quit watching. Most of my information I get through Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that. I used to be a big movie buff. I don't go to movies no more. I don't watch movies. I may watch an old Western here and there. I cut the cable off at the house. And the conclusion I come to is me sitting here for 2 hours watching this movie. What's it going to accomplish me? I can be doing something else with that 2 hours. Two, like John was saying on the news, all it's going to do is get me stirred up. So why do I need to watch it? Because you don't know what the truth is anyhow. So, but that's some of the things that really changed my aspect of the way I look at things. And like watching the movies. Most of them actors don't believe anything that I believe, so why am I going to support it?
It's the only way you could get them out of there is not support them. And the bad thing about it, just like you're talking about, is you hear some of those news stations and the stuff they're telling you, like, are you serious? And what two things I don't like is liars and thieves. And if you're lying to me, you're kind of insulting my intelligence. You ask me to believe something I know is not true. And if you steal from me, you'll probably lie to me about it. So either way, it just, I don't like those people. Basically, they're stealing your time. That being said, boys, I appreciate you guys coming on. Shout out
anytime you want to do another one, let me know.
I do. I want to, whenever y'all get y'all's, I'll come on y'all's. But shout out to Joe.
Work.
Shout out to Joe and John. Tell everybody. Shout out to whatever kind of sources you got, Aggie Land Coffee, and where to find you on social media.
Well, I got the Katie Bar Coffee. Put this right here. You can go to katiebarcattlecompany.com, or you can get it on my TikTok, Katie Bar Calico, on TikTok Shop. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We do some cooking videos. We go live on Sunday mornings. Me and John Neal do some cooking at the church, cook for everybody. That's normally about 8:30 on Sunday mornings. My dad will be there picking and singing, bring short message. Monday night, we ain't done it in a couple of weeks, but we've been in a drought. Can't have a fire, but we got some rain, so we're going to get back to doing our Monday night lives, cooking and that. So that's where you can find us. The Joe and John Show.
I like it, man. Sounds good, guys. I thank y'all for coming on here. This is the Higher Calling podcast here, and stories like Joe and John, and hopefully to get some people inspired and on their higher calling. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.